The sun was red and too close. The sky burned like fire. On the ground, in the dust outside the giant metal gates of the alien city, a woman knelt. Her clothes were torn. Her hair was full of dirt. Her knees bled from crawling. Behind her, two small children, skinny, silent, shaking, watched with big, empty eyes. They had not eaten in 2 days. The woman raised her hands. "Please," she said in a dry voice. "My children are hungry. I will do anything. Work your fields. Clean your houses. Warm your bed. Just feed my kids." The alien guards laughed. They stood tall and strong, wearing shiny armor and holding long energy spears. Their eyes were cold. "Another human," one said. "Always begging. Always weak." "She stinks," said the other. "Throw her back to the lower camps." The gate started to close. But then a voice stopped it. "Wait." A tall alien stepped forward. His skin was silver blue. His eyes glowed gold. He wore a black robe with silver lines, rich, powerful, dangerous. "Bring her to me," he said. The guards hesitated, but obeyed. The woman was pulled to her feet. Her legs shook. Her children tried to run to her, but one guard kicked dirt in their faces. "No," the silver-blue alien said calmly. "Let them come too. Let's see what a human mother looks like when she begs." Inside the alien city, the ground was smooth metal. Lights floated in the air. The woman and her children walked barefoot. People stared. Aliens stared. Some smiled. Some looked disgusted that the silver-blue alien led them to a tall building made of black glass. He did not look at her. He did not speak until they were inside a quiet room. Then he turned. "What is your name?" he asked. "Lena," she said. Her voice cracked. "Lena of Earth." "There is no more Earth," he replied. She looked down. "I know." He studied her. "You offer your body, your time, your strength, all for food, for these little ones." She nodded. "Yes, anything. Just don't let them die." The alien stepped closer. His eyes were cold. "Do you understand what that means?" he said. "No rules. No rights. You will live where I say. Sleep when I say work. Obey. Suffer. Maybe worse." Lena's lip trembled. She held her children close. "I understand," she whispered. "I accept." The alien raised his hand. A glowing square floated in front of her. "Place your hand." "Here," he said. She did. The square turned red. Then green. "It is done," he said. "You belong to me now." That night, they took her to the edge of the alien farms. Long fields of strange blue crops stretched to the horizon. The air smelled like acid and smoke. A tiny metal hut waited for her. "You sleep here," said the worker drone. "Shift begins at sunrise. Children must remain inside. Food will be given if work is complete." Lena said nothing. She nodded. Her body ached. Her soul felt empty. She tucked her children in. They shivered but smiled weakly when she gave them 2 small bread cubes. "Mama," the little one said. "Will we live here now?" "Yes," she said softly, "but I'm here. And I'll protect you." Outside, machines hummed. Red lights blinked in the fields. Somewhere far away, someone screamed. Lena closed her eyes. In the morning, the work began. She woke before the sun. Her hands pulled strange plants from the ground. The soil cut her fingers. The alien sun burned her skin. No water, no breaks. Just pain. Around her, other humans worked. No one spoke. Their eyes were empty. Days passed. Her back bent. Her bones hurt. But every night, she returned to her children. They ate. They smiled. That was enough. One night, while walking back from the fields, she saw something strange. A small hill behind the huts. Freshly dug dirt. The smell of death. She walked closer, and then she saw it. A tiny human hand. sticking out of the soil. Lena fell to her knees. She dug with her bare hands. Her nails broke. Her fingers bled. She pulled out the body of a child, bones, hair, a rusted collar. On the collar were words, human #A12 defective. Lena looked around. No one came. No one cared. She held the small body close. Her hand shook. Her mouth was dry. This is not survival, she whispered. This is something else. The next day, she worked harder, but her eyes were watching, her ears were open, and her mind was planning. Something was wrong here, deeply wrong, and Lena of Earth was not done yet, not even close. You said you'd do anything, the alien noble said, staring into her eyes. Lena didn't blink. Yes, then sign. A red light glowed in the air. It floated like fire, showing alien letters that twisted and moved. She couldn't read them, but she knew what it meant. Her freedom was gone. She pressed her hand. Into the light. It burned. A small scream escaped her lips, but she did not pull away. Her handprint glowed for a moment, then faded. It is done, the noble said, smiling. You are mine now. They called him Lord Vaharak. He was not the highest ruler on the planet, but powerful enough. His voice could open gates, and his orders could end lives. Lena and her children were taken to his estate far from the main city. It was not like the rest of the farms she had seen. This one had guards, walls, drones flying in the sky. And a strange silence. She noticed it the moment they entered. No birds, no animals. Not even bugs. Only machines and quiet fear. The children were taken away first. Lena panicked. No. Please. They will be fed, Vaharak said, cutting her off. As long as you obey. Her room was a cold metal box. No windows. A screen on the wall blinked red. Work shift begins 04:00 hours. She lay on the hard floor that night, staring at the ceiling. Her body ached. Her hands were cracked from work, but the pain was nothing compared to the fear in her heart. Where were her children? Were they safe? What kind of place was this? No one answered. At sunrise, she was taken to the fields, but these fields were different. The soil wasn't brown, it was black and full of silver dust. The plants weren't green, they were tall, sharp, and purple, and hummed when touched. She worked beside other humans. They were thin, silent, robotic. No one looked her in the eye. No one spoke. She tried once. Hey, do you know where they take the children? A man beside her didn't respond. Didn't even blink. Another woman whispered, without turning, don't ask. Just work, or they come for you too. At the end of the day, food was dropped into her hands by a drone. 1 protein cube, a sip of green water. She ate half. The other half she wrapped in cloth for her children if she ever saw them again. That night, she was summoned. She stood in front of Vaharak's long table, shaking. He looked at her like one looks at a broken toy. You are strong, he said. Stronger than you look. But I wonder, how long until you break? Lena said nothing. He stood and walked around her. You humans burn so brightly, but you burn out fast. Then he leaned close. If your children mean everything, you will do everything. Lena's voice was calm but clear. I already said I would. Vaharak smiled. The next day, they sent her to a new section of the field, the far corner, where strange machines stood half buried in the ground. Clear the area, the drone instructed. Touch nothing else. But something strange happened. As she pulled out the weeds, her hand brushed against a hidden panel on one of the machines. It blinked once, twice, then opened. Inside was a screen. It lit up and spoke in a low, broken voice. Human resistance detected. Activating memory logs. Lena gasped. The machine showed images, old videos of other humans, years ago, planning a rebellion. They spoke of secret tunnels, coded messages, and a leader named Sarah. Then it showed their end screams, fire, silence. Lena stared. Her hands trembled. She wasn't the first. That night she returned to her room. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She sat in the corner, thinking. And for the first time, she felt something dangerous rise inside her. Not fear. Fire. The next morning, she asked the drone, "Where are my children?" It didn't answer. She asked again, "WARE are my children?" It turned, scanned her face, then beeped. Child Unit A71 and A72 are located in Block 7. Status: secured. Nutrition: minimal. Can I see them? Not allowed. Lena stood in the field that day with her back straight. Her arms moved like always, but her eyes scanned the machines. If there was a resistance before, there could be one again, and this time she would not just survive, she would fight for her children, for the others, for Earth. The voices started on the third night, not loud, not clear, but real. They came from beneath the ground, soft, broken whispers. Not language, not words, just pain. Lena sat up in the dark, alert. Her children slept beside her in the corner of the tiny metal room. The walls hummed with cold energy. But the sound she heard wasn't from the walls. It was from underneath. She pressed her ear to the floor. Nothing. She waited. Then there it was again. A groan. A human groan. Weak, but full of sorrow. She pulled her children close. "It's okay," she whispered. "I'm here." But in her mind, she knew something was terribly wrong. The next day, she returned to the far fields. The ones with the old machines buried in the soil. She kept her face calm, her back bent, but her eyes scanned every inch of dirt. She found it near the edge, a part of the ground that seemed softer, like it had been dug recently. She dropped to her knees and pushed her hand into the soil. It was warm. Too warm. She dug. One handful. Then another. Soon, her fingers touched metal. Not smooth. Broken. She cleared more dirt and found a half-buried door. Rusted. Cracked. With strange Earth numbers written on it. Shelter Unit H23. Human. Access only. Her heart raced. She looked around. No guards. No drones. She opened the door. It creaked. The smell hit her like a wave. Old blood, rot, and something electric. She slipped inside. The tunnel was dark and cold. Red lights flickered on the walls. She stepped carefully, holding her breath. Each step echoed. And then she saw them. Bodies. Some were bones. Some still had skin. All had metal collars around their necks. Each collar had a number. She passed a skeleton holding a rusted sign made of scrap metal. "We died as humans, not slaves." Her hand shook. Her stomach turned. But she didn't turn back. Further in, she found a room. Inside, a broken console. Blinked weakly. She pressed a button. A recording played. "This is Sarah. If anyone finds this, we tried. We tried to fight. But they buried us. Alive. They buried the truth. If you're human, run or rise." The screen went black. Lena stood in silence. So this was it. The voices were real. This place was once alive with hope. Now it was a grave. That night, Lena didn't sleep. She stared at the ceiling while her children lay beside her. She whispered to herself over and over, "They buried humans under their own crops," and called it farming. She understood now why the soil was so black, why the plants grew so fast. They weren't just farming land. They were farming death. The next morning, she confronted a worker, an old woman with tired eyes. "What happened to the resistance?" Lena asked in a whisper. The woman flinched, looked away, then answered quietly, "They grew too loud, so the aliens grew quiet." One day, No one came back from the field. She pointed to the far edge of the farm. They're still there, underneath, screaming. Later that day, Vihara called her again. She stood in his glass hall, dirty and tired, but her eyes were no longer afraid. "You look awake," he said. "I am," she replied. He circled her like a vulture. "I gave you food, shelter, protection. For your children, and in return, you obey." Lena looked at him. Cold and steady. "Obedience built on blood," she said. "I saw what's under the fields." He smiled faintly. "Not surprised." "Ah, so the past still speaks." "I warned them to clean those tunnels better." Her fists clenched. "You kill humans and plant crops over their bones." He stepped closer. "No. I feed humans. Their children. They're weak. Their mothers. I offer survival. In return, I take what's mine." Lena didn't look away. "You won't own me forever." That night, she returned to the hidden tunnel and lit a broken torch from the old machinery. She looked at the wall-scratched names, symbols, messages of hope. Then she whispered, "I hear you. I remember you. I will not let you be forgotten." As the flames flickered on her face, her voice grew stronger. "For my children, for Sira, for the broken, for the buried, I will rise." Lena found the hidden door inside a dying crop. It wasn't locked. It wasn't protected, because no one believed a human would dare open it. But Lena did. She slipped inside just after midnight, when the drones went silent for an hour to recharge. She held a small metal rod she'd sharpened into a knife. If anyone found her, she would fight, not to escape, not to run, but to know the truth. The tunnel was deeper than the last one. The walls were old, cracked, and covered in wires. Strange machines blinked softly, machines from Earth, not alien tech. Human tech. Someone built this, she whispered. Someone like me. She walked slowly, past old crates, past faded flags with Earth's logo, past broken weapons left behind. And then she saw a tall black terminal standing in the middle of the room. The screen blinked. Restricted. Earth Archives Generation 3. Below it, a hand scanner. Old, rusted. She hesitated. Then she placed her palm on the scanner, the machine whirred, and the screen lit. UP. A man's face appeared. Human. Brown skin. Gray beard. Military uniform. Tired eyes. My name is Commander Tarek Ryle, last surviving leader of Earth's Forward Colony 9. If you're seeing this, then you've survived the farms, and you're human. Lena leaned closer. Her heart raced. We tried to build peace with the alien species here. We gave them trade, knowledge, even our DNA to help fix their dying world. In return, they turned us into fertilizer. Lena gasped. We didn't just die. They harvested us, turned us into soil, food, fuel. They found out human bodies make alien crops grow faster. So they made a choice, use humans or let their planet die. The message ended. Lena stood there, frozen. Her stomach twisted. Her hands shook. She was right. Everything in this place was built on human death. And now she was working those same fields, feeding her children with food grown on bones. That night, she didn't return to her room. She went deeper into the tunnels. And there, she found something no one was supposed to see. A prison, long metal cells, dark and cold. And inside them, children. Some were awake, some were crying. Some were too weak to move. One small boy reached out and said softly, Mama. It wasn't her child, but he looked just like him. Lena fell to her knees. How long have you been here? She asked. A girl whispered, Since the harvest, the real one, the one they hide. The next morning, Lena stood in the fields like always, bent over, working, silent, But everything had changed. She knew where her children were taken. She knew what the crops were feeding on. She knew what she had to do. That night, she snuck into the workers' camp again. This time, she didn't go alone. She whispered to a young man, "Do you want to see what's under the fields?" He said nothing, but he followed, then another, and another. By dawn, 6 humans had seen the tunnels, the machines, the message, the prison. Lena stood in front of them, fire in her eyes. "They turned us into dirt," she said, "but we are still alive. And now we know." The others nodded. Quietly, but not with fear, with rage. Later that day, she was called again to Viharak's hall. He stared at her for a long time. "You walk differently," he said, "like someone with secrets." Lena didn't flinch. "You walk like someone afraid their power is slipping," she answered. Viharak's smile faded. He stepped forward and lowered his voice. "You forget your place." "No," she said. "I remember it clearly. And I know what's buried beneath it." That night, she found her children's names in the prison logs: a 71, a 72, Block 7, alive, weak, still inside. She traced her fingers over their digital files. Then she closed her eyes and whispered to the ghosts beneath the soil, "Just a little longer. I'm coming." "You said you would do anything?" Viharak whispered in her ear. His breath was cold, his words sharp. "Now prove it." Lena stood still, fists clenched. The glass walls of the noble's hall glowed blue around her. Alien music played softly in the background. Tonight, she was not dressed like a worker. She wore a long silver dress, thin as smoke, made to impress alien eyes, not for warmth, not for comfort, and not by choice. She hated it, but she wore it for one reason. Her children were alive and locked in a cage. Viharak stepped back and clapped his hands. 3 alien guests entered the room. Tall, pale creatures with 6 eyes and long robes. Wealthy, powerful, dangerous. They came to see the Earthbred, Viharak said, smiling. Entertain them. Make them laugh. Make them forget their fear of humans. Lena didn't move. "I am not a toy." Viharak's voice dropped. "Your children are in Block 7. Minimal food, minimal air. One wrong move, and their oxygen ends." Lena looked him in the eyes. He was enjoying this. This was the game. She walked forward. Not with grace, not with beauty, but with control. The aliens stared at her, amused. One pointed. Another laughed in a high, cold voice. Lena stood in the center of the room and said nothing. She looked around. The room at the gold, the wine, the alien art made of bones, and she began to speak. "You think this dress hides the dirt under my nails? You think this song drowns out the screams under your feet?" The aliens went silent. "I buried a child yesterday. Not mine. Someone else's. I didn't know her name, but I know her face." She stepped closer to the table. "Do you?" Viharak stood, furious. "Enough." Lena turned toward him. "No," she said, "not yet." She grabbed a glass of alien wine from the table and threw it at the wall. It shattered. The guests flinched. One of them said softly, "Let her speak." Lena's voice rose. "You feed on us. You grow crops on our bones. You lock our children in cages and call it balance. But it's not balance. It's theft. It's murder wrapped in law." She stepped up to the noble. "I signed your deal. I wore your dress. I danced in your house of ghosts. But I am not yours." The silence that followed was heavy. Then Viharak laughed. It wasn't joy. It was warning. "You're brave," he said. "Braver than most, but you forget where you are." He lifted a small silver device, pressed a button. A screen appeared. Block 7, her children's cell. Lena gasped. They were asleep, thin and pale. A red light blinked above their heads. Oxygen. 3%. You speak again, Viharik said, and they stopped breathing. Lena dropped to her knees. Tears filled her eyes, but not from fear. From rage she had to swallow. The guests stood. One of them whispered something to Viharik, shaking its head. She has fire, it said. That fire could spread. Vharrak. Wave them off. She's just a mother, he said. And mothers break easily. That night, Lena sat in the soil by the fields, still in the silver dress. The wind blew dust in her face. Her hands gripped the earth like it was the only thing.
Holding her together, but her eyes.
They were dry now. She didn't cry. She didn't beg. She planned out in the morning. She met with the others again. The 6 who had seen the tunnels. The 6 who were ready. There's no more time, she told them. He showed me the cage. He controls their breath. One man asked, "What do we do?" Lena looked at her hands. "We stop asking," she said, "and we start taking." She returned to the broken shelter tunnel that night and pulled out an old crate. Inside, scraps of earth tech, wires, tools, one old power cell, barely glowing. "We'll make it work," she said. "We'll make them afraid." Far above them. Farms, a ship entered. The planet's orbit. Military. Not alien. Human. It didn't answer any calls. And it was scanning the surface. Lena stood in the shadows of the field that night, watching the stars. She knew something was coming. Not mercy. Not hope, but maybe. A crack in the wall, and she would be ready to push it wide open. Lena set Lord Viharik's robe on fire. Right there, in front of the entire alien court. One spark. One torch hidden in her sleeve. And suddenly, the black silk and silver threads. "We're burning," he screamed. The guards rushed forward. Drones dropped from the ceiling. But Lena was already running. Not away, toward Block 7. The plan had begun 2 hours earlier. The tunnel team 6 humans, each with a job, were already inside the lower systems. They had broken the power locks, shut down 3 cameras, and blocked all outgoing alerts. All using old Earth tools, wired together from scrap. One spark, one switch, one mother's fury. Lena knew she wouldn't have time. But she didn't need time. She needed fire. She ran through the corridor as alarms screamed. Alien. Servants ran the opposite direction. Soldiers barked orders. The building shook, systems failing, lights blinking. Block 7 was 3 floors down. No elevator. Just stairs. She jumped the last 5 steps, hit the ground hard, and kept running. At the final door, she pulled out the stolen guard's key. It blinked green. The door opened. There they were. Her children. Still breathing. Still alive, huddled together inside the glass cell. "Mom?" The older one said, eyes wide. She smiled through tears. "Yes, baby." "I'm here." She smashed the lock panel with her tool. Sparks flew. Glass cracked. Then shattered. She grabbed both children in her arms. One whispered, "Are we going home?" She nodded, heartbreaking. "We're going somewhere better." Outside the block, chaos ruled. 2 of her rebel team met her at the stairwell. One handed her a bag, food, wires, water. Another nodded. "The door to the field tunnels is open. The rest are waiting." Behind them, Viharik's voice thundered through the building. "Bring me the traitor. Bring me the children. Burn every human who defies us." Lena didn't slow. She and the others reached the field tunnels in minutes, ducked through the soil vents, and entered the dark corridors where the first resistance had once died. But this time, they weren't dying here. This time, they were rising. In the lower shelter, dozens of humans waited. Men, women, teenagers. Broken once. Awake now, one woman took Lena's hand. "You lit the fire," she said. "No," Lena replied. "We did." She climbed a small crate, lifted her child onto her hip, and spoke to the crowd. This place was built on silence. We are done being quiet. She held up the melted collar from the first child she buried. They grow crops on our bones. They feed their machines with our children. They call us resources, but we are not tools. We are not dirt. Her voice shook the walls. We are human, and humans burn back. Above them, the crops began to smoke, not from fire yet, from the machines they had rigged to overload the power lines beneath the fields. Old, human reactors, rewired. Angry Dot at the main city gates, Viharak stood before his army. The sky was turning. Orange dot not with sunset, dot with flames. The fields burst, first rows and rows of alien crops shriveling as the ground cracked open. Explosions followed, each one louder than the last. Soil flew into the air. Smoke painted the sky, and the whisper of dead humans buried below was now a roar. Back in the tunnels, Lena handed her children to a young woman and grabbed a plasma rod from the stolen gear crate. Get them to safety, she said. Where are you going? The woman asked. Lena's eyes blazed. To finish what Sira started. She returned to the surface through fire and ash, standing alone in the ruins of Field 9. Viharak arrived with his guards. He stepped through smoke and broken wires, robes torn, voice shaking. You'll kill them all, he spat. Even your own. Lena lifted the plasma rod. They were already dead to you. He stepped closer. You're just a mother. She smiled. Yes. And mothers burn everything that tries to take their children. The last thing he saw was the flash of earth. Fire red, wild human dot, then the smoke swallowed everything. Viharak's head rolled across the soil, got not clean, not quick. Burnt, blackened. Human hands had done it, and the aliens watched in silence, not with fear, with confusion. Because they had never seen a human win like this, not with ships. Not with bombs, but with a mother's love, a farmer's hands, and pure rage. The fields were gone now. Nothing left but ash, bones, and cracked machines. The same machines that once screamed for human labor now stood dead and melting. The rebellion was no longer hiding. They stood tall above the soil. They were once buried under Dot, and at the front of them was Lena. Her dress was torn. Her skin was burned. Her eyes were tired, but they did not blink. Dot, she walked through the destroyed noble estate holding a flag she had stitched herself, made from scraps of uniform, plant fibers, and a collar she tore off her own neck. On the flag was a single word: enough. A giant alien warship hovered above the city, dark, silent. Watching Dot inside, the supreme overseer of the planet looked down. He had received the reports. Human slave colony in Sector D has risen. Fields destroyed. Viharak eliminated. Resistance spreading. He squinted at the screen and saw her, a woman, a mother, barefoot, bleeding, and unafraid. He opened communication. Lena's image appeared on his monitor. She didn't bow. She didn't kneel. She simply stared. He said, "You are a worker, not a leader." She replied, "You were wrong." He laughed. "What do you want?" She stepped closer to the camera drone. "Freedom for all humans, control of our lands, and a message to your empire: never bury us again." He paused. "You are a species of emotion, fire, chaos." She nodded. "And now, you know what happens when you light a fire inside a mother." The overseer leaned back. The human uprising had spread across 4 zones. The nobles were falling. Control was slipping. He had 2 options: crush them or contain them. But he had seen the footage. Humans did not run. They fought even with broken tools. They died with songs on their lips. They loved louder than any other species. And now, for the first time, he respected them. 2 hours later, his message came. Sector D is now autonomous. Humans may govern themselves. No further harvests will be permitted. It wasn't peace, but it was space to live. Lena stood at the edge of the field with her children beside her. They watched the warship rise into the clouds, watched the alien cities shut their gates, watched the sun rise over land they now called home. The boy asked, "Mama, are we free now?" She looked down and kissed his forehead. "Not yet," she said. "But now, we fight for no one, only for each other." That night, the humans buried the dead properly. Names were spoken. Songs were sung. The earth was quiet for the first time in years. Not from fear, from peace. Later, Lena sat with a group of young workers. They asked, "How did it begin?" She smiled softly. "With hunger." They laughed. "But no," she added, "not the stomach. Kind. The kind that lives in the soul. The hunger for life, for family, for justice. The kind that never goes away until you stand up." They called her many things after that. The first mother, the soil breaker, the flame of Sector D, but she never took titles. She just planted new seeds in the earth, watered them. Waited. And when the first sprout came up, green and untouched by blood, she cried. She didn't cry for the past. She cried for the future. The world her children would now grow in, free, messy, and truly human.